Hello, Mr. Randy here. Time for our next installment. This is week 3. We're going to take a look at revolves today. We're going to do some trims and some extends, which we haven't done yet. We'll look at chamfer features and fillet features and some linear patterns in a sketch. All coming up in week 3. Probably break this into 2 parts, so here we go with part 1. We have a small pin here, rather kind of complicated little pin that we're going to create with a revolve and a cut revolve. Again, a reminder, read your directions carefully. You'll notice that this says to cut the diameter 0.125 features separately. If you put them in the original sketch, you're going to have to redo it, so make sure you cut those separate. And again, the chamfers will be the last step as a feature. Do not sketch any chamfers or any fillets in any of these parts. Okay. All right. So we're going to do a revolve on this one, and I'm going to slide this over, and let's take a look. So we'll start a new part. This is an inch part, and we'll presume, because it's only one view, that it's the front view. So we'll go to the front plane and start a sketch. Now I'm going to begin in kind of a funny way, in that I'm going to draw a center line in the wrong direction. And you'll kind of see why in just a minute. Now I'm going to go to the line tool, and I'm going to draw this profile for half the part. So I'm going to start at the origin. I'm going to go up. I'm going to go over, up, back, like so. Now, the reason I started with the center line going the wrong way is because the line for the center of the part would have covered it up, and I need access to that center line in just a minute. So let's get a few dimensions in here. We'll start with an overall length at 3.5. Probably going to get a little Picasso'd here. This is 0.5. And 0.125. It is half an inch here, and 1.6 here. So I've got all my length dimensions in now, and I need to put some diameter dimensions in. You'll notice that the dimensions are diameters here. So I'm going to use the dimension tool, and if I pick this line and I pick this center line, you'll notice that we get 0.511 dimension here. It's really the radius. However, as we said in week 1, you're not allowed to do any math. Should be over that by now. No math. So here's the trick. If I go above the center line, I get that radial dimension. However, if I go below the center line, it flips to a diameter. Now this only works with a center line, and it only works if you pick the line, not the end point of the line. The end point of the center line, that is. So if I come below the line, it will give me that diameter dimension, and I'll put in a 1 there for that diameter. I have a diameter for this feature up here. I can technically pick that endpoint as long as I pick the center line, and as you can see again, it gives me a radial or diameter distance depending on where I put my mouse. We'll set that at 1.25 inches. And then I have a diameter again, this line to the center line. I can come back over here if I want at 0.5. Now I need a couple collinear relations here, so let's go ahead and get this fully defined. So we'll take these two lines and make them collinear. We'll take this line and this line collinear. I should be fully defined now. I am. Again, check your command prompt. Seen a few underdefined sketches so far. Don't want to do that, so have everything in now. Again, I'm not going to draw those arcs in there. It's going to be a separate cut. So now I'm ready to revolve. Now, when you have one center line in the sketch, one and only one center line, you can automatically go right to the revolve tool here. If you have multiple center lines, you want to pick the revolve center line before you go to the tool, or you can do it after. And technically, there are sometimes parts that don't require a center line. And then you pick the line, the actual object line, that's going to be the revolve axis when you go to the revolve tool. But we have a single center line, so we can just click on revolve and hit OK. And we'll get a 360-degree revolve. Now, I'm going to go to the front plane again. I'm going to start a sketch. I'm going to go normal 2. And this, what I'm about to do here, we're going to use again in another assignment this week. So I won't do it again in that assignment or show you. I need to put these 3 radial cuts in. They're 1 1/4, 0.125 diameter. So I'm going to go to the circle tool. I want to make sure I get the edge right here and not the midpoint. And I'm going to draw 3 circles all at once. I'm going to go ahead right now while they're sitting there in front of me. I'm going to make them all equal. Then I'll start some dimensions. So we'll go to the diameter dimension tool, or smart dimension tool, 0.125. And then we'll put these spacing dimensions in of 0.4. Whoops. Well, at least I'm consistent. We're fully defined. However, as you can see, I have no axis. I have no geometry for an axis for this sketch. So I'm going to have to take care of that. I'm going to have to draw a center line for this one so that I have an axis. Make sure you attach it to the origin so that it's black. It's a blue endpoint, but a black line. And now I'm ready to cut revolve. So we're going to go to Features, Revolve Cut. Again, 360. And notice, even though we use a full circle, that certainly does not matter to SolidWorks. So it makes the cut anyways. Do the same on the later assignment this week also. Now we need some chamfers. There are 5 chamfers at 45 degrees. They're 0.05. So the chamfer tool is hiding under the fillet tool. So it's a feature. So it's the Features tab. And here's the fillet tool. We'll down arrow and select chamfer. We're going to set our chamfer to 0.05. Whoop. And now we just pick the corners we want to get rid of. So I'm going to skew the model a little bit. I need to get rid of this corner. I need to get rid of both the corners on this cylinder. I need to get rid of that corner and that corner. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and hit OK. And those are our chamfer features. I'd like you to do that in a single chamfer command. I only want to see one chamfer item in your feature manager. Do not click on chamfer, pick one, hit OK, click on chamfer, pick the next one, hit OK. Don't do that. The reason for that is that all the chamfers are the same. They have a 5x note. If we ever edit that chamfer, I have a single feature here I can edit now, and I can put a different dimension in here, like maybe 0.1 for a nice big chamfer, and hit OK. I can edit all of them in one step. So you want to try and group your features together for chamfers and fillets and things when you can, because it simplifies editing down the road. Okay? All right, the part's finished. I'm going to close it, and we will move on. All right, the next assignment, let me bring this on screen for just a minute, is another revolve problem. It has a rather unique cut on it. It has a slit in it. And I'm going to walk you through part of this particular assignment. I'm going to leave it right there. We'll lose that dimension, but I know what it is, so we'll be good. So again, front, top, right side view. So we're going to start right on the front plane. So let's do a new file, metric. I'm not going to draw all this, not even going to fully define it. So remember, you need to do that, but I'm just going to show you a part of this here. So front view, start a sketch. Again, I'm going to do my backwards or reverse direction center line. And now we'll go to the line tool. I'm going to go up about 45. I'm going to come downhill, come over. I'm just going to double click, and I'm going to do a line down here somewhere. All right, there's a spherical radius on the nose of this part. It's not a sphere in 2D. In 2D, it's just an arc. But when we revolve it, it becomes a sphere. So I need a 40 millimeter radius arc out here on the nose. You'll notice that the center point for that arc is on the center line. It's a real important distinction to make right up front. So I'm going to go to the arc tool, and I'm going to do a center point arc. We do a lot of those in SolidWorks. And I'm going to pick a point on this line, not the midpoint. So I'm going to come back a little further. Make sure you're not clicking on the midpoint. It'll get you in trouble. And I'm going to click here, and I'll loop around, and we'll pass through close to that point. So let's zoom up here and see what's going on. And a couple ways you can repair this. What I'm going to do is show you the trim tool, because the way that we have trim set up here, you could fix this all up with the trim tool. So I'm going to click on trim. Again, we're in trim to closest. If you're using this at home, you might want to switch to trim to closest for this one. Now, I'm going to click on this line and drag. If I just click, it would delete the line. I'm going to click and drag till I touch the arc and release, and it will extend it to the arc. And then I'll just click on that piece to take it away. All right, let's go ahead and put some dimensions on this one. I want to make sure the body is correct, so I need this diameter is 90. The diameter of this portion of the body is 60. I have a 40 millimeter radius here, and it is 35 millimeters to that corner, and my overall length is 125. I'm going to go ahead and revolve this now and hit OK. There's the body of my part. Now, there's a hole through this part. It's a 20 millimeter diameter. You're going to have to sketch on this face, draw a circle right on the origin, cut it through all. You can't put it on this end because it's a curved surface. You can't sketch on a curved surface. It doesn't give us the option to do a sketch. I can edit, but I can't create a new sketch on a non-flat surface there. All right, I do want to show you this cut right here. That cut is this area in here, if you can see my mouse, is being removed. So I'm going to go back to the front plane. I'm going to go normal 2. And we're going to start a sketch on the front plane, which I've done. I'm going to take a couple ways you can do this. I'll take this edge. I'm holding the Control key down, take that edge, and I'll take this edge, and I'm going to convert them. We'll have to pause here because I haven't used the convert tool yet today. I don't know why this is behaving so slowly here at KCC, but we've had this issue now this semester. And we'll hit OK. So you can see now, I'm going to rotate this model a little bit. You can see that it converted those edges onto my sketch plane as geometry. All right, I'm going to draw a line now from here over somewhere about there. I'm going to make that line horizontal. I'll go ahead and dimension that line. I'm going to start using that S key here. From here to the origin is 20. Now, I need to trim away. Trim tool, I'm going to trim away this piece of the arc. I need to extend this line down until it touches. Didn't want to do that. Want to do that. trim tool. I'll click and drag till I touch that line. Then I'll snip off this piece and this piece. So that's one way I can produce that geometry. Real quickly, I'll show you a second way. I'm going to take that line out and let me just re-stretch this. You could have sketched just this part, convert the nose, convert the top edge, and then I could do a line here from here to here, just connect the line in there, and then collinear relate it to this edge. So I have that edge and this line, and I can make those collinear. That's another way you can do that. Okay. Now, this is a rather tricky one, so I need you to be very careful here. Again, when we look at the model, there is no width dimension here for that cut. Okay, it just cuts through the part. But this gets a little weird because when I do a feature and I say extruded cut and I say through all, notice that I'm only going in one direction there. I'll show you what I don't want you to do. This is a common error on this part, and it's absolutely wrong. So don't do this. We have a mid-plane option for doing cuts, and I could just take it out past the edges of the part like that and be good. The problem is it's going to put a 97 millimeter dimension in this model, and that's wrong. We don't want that in there. That's dimensional information that does not belong in this model. If this part ever got big enough, if we edited this part for a new version or something, got big enough, it could expand beyond the length of that cut and we'd have an error we'd have to fix. So we do not want to do that. So we're going to go back to through all. And then I'm just going to turn on direction 2 down here. Okay. So I'll check that box. It's through all. And I'll just hit OK. The advantage is that no dimension was added. If I double click this feature, all I see is that 20 millimeter height dimension. I do not see a width dimension for that cut. That's what we want to see. All right, finally on this part, I'm going to do one more sketch. I'm going to sketch on this flat surface, and we'll go normal too. And I'm going to start a line. I'm going to attach right to the nose. Do not do a flat line out here. It will cause you some grief. You can do it. You just have to be very careful not to add any dimensions. So it's a little harder to get this fully defined if you do that. I'm going to take this edge and convert it. I'm going to trim these two lines off. I can put my dimension in. It is 6 millimeters wide. And you can see that I have all the geometry I need, or so we think. And but I'm not defined yet because this is not anchored anywhere. So I'm going to have to draw a construction line or center line off the origin. And I'm going to create a symmetric relationship. So I'm going to pick this line. I'm going to hold the control key down. I'm going to pick the center line, and I'm going to pick this line. And I'm going to make them symmetric down here. And that gets us fully defined. That sketches up on that top surface. Again, notice, that's even with the nose down here. So I should be able to cut this through all. And get that slit in there. Once you get the hole in, you do have some chamfers to do. Be very careful. Make sure you get them all in. All right, so there is that part. And let's say goodbye. On this part, I'm really not going to show you anything here with one exception. Most everything that's in this sketch we've already done. I'm going to bring this on screen and expand it just a little bit, just for a moment. There's two things I want you to notice. One, these cut revolves. There's one here. There's one here that's been blown up. You can use a full circle for those. You will have to get a diameter dimension for those to place them. Use a center line to do that. The other thing I want you to notice is the depth of this pocket is not dimensioned. Again, this is intentional. Normally we would not want to do that. We don't want to make people assume. It is lined up with this edge is all we can assume. So I only want to see a single 4 millimeter dimension in there. This sketch will require a collinear relationship here to make that work. So let's shrink this back down now, and I'm just going to begin this sketch because I just want to show you one other thing here. So I'm going to slide that over a bit, try and keep that on screen. All right, so we're going to start a new part. This is a metric part. I'm just going to do the base sketch here. Watch the chamfers. There's 3 at 3 and there's 2 at 5. I'm going to go to the, this is a front and right side view, yes? Front, right side view. So I want to sketch on the right plane. Be careful of that. I'm going to draw my center line. And then I'm going to start the line tool. And I'm going to start out here in space. Back down, come over. This is going to get really ugly when I dimension it because it's going to Picasso quite badly. Let's get a couple relations in here. So this edge and this edge are collinear. Let's get that right in there. And now let's start doing some dimensions and we'll see how bad this is going to get. This is 28, that's the hole. And that's what I wanted to show you, is that you can revolve the hole right into the part instead of cutting it as a separate feature if you want. So if the center hub has a dimension, you could cut that right into the, or put that right in the part in the revolve. We'll go from here to here, and that is 60. Let's go to the top surface here. That is 180. We'll take this to this, that's 70. And up to the top, down to the center line is 150. Should pull that back down in. I've got some width dimensions here. It's 60 millimeters across. It is 4 millimeters here. It is 20 millimeters here. Now, I have, I think, all my dimensions in here. You'll notice that we're not fully defined, and the reason for that is that this part is floating. It's not anchored to the origin in any way. The center line is, but the part itself has no relationship in the z direction, in this case, to the origin. So I'm going to pick this line, hold the control key, and pick this origin, and make them coincident. That forces this edge to be directly above the origin, and you'll notice now that we've gone fully defined. I could revolve this and then start adding more features. But that's enough, I think, on this part. You can go from there. So let's throw that away. All right. Next part up, I'm going to do one of these pattern cuts for you. So let's take a look at this one. We'll call this the front and right side view. So let's go to the front plane, start a sketch, and we'll just do a rectangle. We'll dimension it 25 by 20. There's a little tiny part. We're going to extrude it 25, like so. Again, on the kind of the front face here, I'm going to start a sketch. I'm going to go normal 2. I'm going to draw a rectangle, like so. I'm going to dimension that rectangle. It's the first cut. And notice it's a rectangle. Do not draw a profile with this line missing up here. This has got to be a full rectangle. I'm going to dimension that feature. It is 15 tall. It is 2 wide. It's 1.5 over. It's fully defined now. But I'm going to pattern it. Now this is the only part this semester that we're going to use a sketch pattern for. I just want you to see it. It's probably easier in almost all instances to use a pattern feature than it is to use a pattern in the sketch. But the tool is there and I'd like you to know how to use it. So we're going to come up here to linear sketch pattern. I'm going to click on that for a second. Don't ever use circular sketch patterns. They're a nightmare. You can almost never get them fully defined. So stay away from circular sketch patterns in all cases. We will never use one here at KCC. Linear sketch pattern. I'm going to scroll down here. I didn't pre-select my geometry, so under entities to pattern, you have to pick these 4 lines. I'm going to window them. Maybe not. I could have windowed them beforehand. Then I'll scroll back up. We're going to go in the x-axis direction. Now, it says 2 millimeters of space. However, the pattern, if I put 2 millimeters in here, you'll see what happens. It puts it right on top of the first one. The reason for that is that the pattern goes from start of the first piece to start of the second. So you are going to get to do a little math to get this in here. However, the math won't show in the end, so I'll show you that. So we're going to put a 4 millimeter space in here. And I need 7 of these, if I remember correctly. Nope, that's too many. We'll take 6. Y-axis, I'm not patterning in the Y direction. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to turn off instant count. I don't want to see that. I'm not going to show any dimension here. And we'll hit OK. All right. Now, it's created a pattern. However, you can see that it's not defined. The first one is, but the others are. And I'll show you what that means. This it's truly a pattern. However, its orientation or alignment and spacing have not been set. So I'm going to leave it up like that. So the first thing I'm going to do is just make 2 of the lines collinear. And that will lock the orientation. Now my pattern can only move in this direction. And then I'm going to put the 2 millimeter dimension in here. So we'll go do a dimension from here to here at 2 millimeters. That fully defines it. And we'll cut that through all. All right. Through all. I said it, but I didn't do it. Now, I am going to start this sketch on this other side. I'm not going to pattern it, but maybe I will. Start a sketch, normal 2. I'm going to draw a line. Then a tangent arc. Again, I just go back and touch that endpoint with the line tool. Gives me a tangent arc and then allows me on my way. All right, I'm going to dimension this part. I'm going to go 1 millimeter over, 1 millimeter across, and then I'm going to put this 16 millimeter dimension in here, and I'm going to zoom up on this, slide it over. 16 millimeters is to the bottom of that arc, so I want to show you the right and wrong way to do this. If you're in the AutoCAD habit here, and you dimension, say, from this point to the center point there, you can get a dimension in there. But it does us no good, and I'll show you that. I'm going to put in 16 millimeters. However, I need it to go to the end of that arc. Well, there's a couple ways one can usually do that. You can drag to the end of that arc. Oh, it's going to do it now. That's a new feature in this release of SolidWorks. However, let's undo that. If I click on that dimension and look at leaders, it doesn't give me the option to extend it to the maximum position of that arc. So let me show you one of the reasons why we like to dimension to the radius. Place the dimension, and I could come right over here to leaders, and I can just say go to the max on that arc. It gives us that functionality. I'm going to have to double click that, put it back to 16. I'm going to very quickly now linear pattern this because I do want to show you that last cut. And we're going to do a linear sketch pattern. Spacing is 2 millimeters. And I need a bunch of them. And we'll hit OK. Again, I'm going to put a dimension in for the space in between. And I'm going to make 2 of these lines collinear. Should fully define my pattern. I'll cut that through all. There we go. All right, now finally on this part, I have this scalloped profile to the top, just 2 radius dimensions. This is actually kind of a tricky little cut, but I'll show you how to do that real quick. I'm going to start on this surface with a sketch. I'll go normal too. I'm going to draw a circle. Now again, this is not located, so we just have to presume it's in the middle. And so I'm going to attach it to the midpoint of the middle land here, the little middle prong here, and do a circle. I intentionally terminated that circle out in space here rather than on top of an edge, just because it makes it easier to click. I'm going to draw a line now from that quadrant point to the end, and from this quadrant point to the end. All right, now unlike AutoCAD, SolidWorks gives you a little different result, or won't trim or fillet this the way you'd like when it's a full circle. So the first thing we're going to do is trim this away. And now I'm going to do a sketch fillet of 5 millimeters and click these 2 vertexes. And we'll have to hit OK and then click again. SolidWorks does that. The newer versions of SolidWorks do that sometimes, require you to click twice. I'm going to put a dimension in for this radius of 6. Now, you'll notice this is one of the exceptions this semester. I do not have a closed sketch. I have an open contour here, but it's not closed. If your cut goes all the way across the part, goes all the way across the cross-section of the part, you can cut it with an open sketch like this. This is one of the only instances where that will happen this semester. So I'm going to do an extruded cut. It will look rather strange when I click on that. It gives me that for the extruded cut. It's a through-all cut automatically. You have no option there. You cannot cut it to a blind depth or anything else. It's got to be a through-all cut. The difficult part is making a decision here on what we're going to keep. So you'll see this arrowhead here. I can flip it up or down, and it changes which half of the part it's going to cut. Well, we're just going to take a guess here. So we're going to click OK, and it's going to give us an error popped up off screen. I'll bring it into the screen here. It says, do you want to keep all the bodies? Well, that tells you you're in trouble. The reason for that is that it's cutting away all the bottom half, and there are all these little pieces of prongs sticking up that are all separate bodies. So we're going to cancel that cut, and we'll reverse direction. So now you know this arrowhead points to the cut side. Okay, arrowhead points to the cut side, and we'll click OK, and it'll slice that off. Okay. All right. I'm going to stop this video here and resume again in just a moment with the second part. So enjoy.